We're gonna talk about NFTs and Web3 and just like what's happening right now in the industry, in the market. And of course, you have something's going on as well. So I just wanted to kind of like quickly kind of like get us up to speed. Like, how did you get into the industry? What are you actually doing right now? And what are your current projects as well? So we're gonna talk about that. So let's just start with that.
Yeah, so I can probably talk about this for the full amount of time, but I won't do that. I'll try and make some points and get through it. But in July or August 2021 is really when I found the NFT space in general. I've always been in crypto back to about 2017, but I found the NFT space and I was intrigued. My first thought was, try it out a little bit, see what it's like, and did that. I realized like, hey, like I'm not a professional trader, but
Hmm.
what I am good with is I like people. I'm good at talking with people. So I found a NFT project and volunteered for them.
Hmm.
Like first thing that I did was find a project that I could volunteer for because I wanted to learn the inner workings of how these things worked. So I did that. I got hired as a volunteer onto a project. I ended up building up
What,
their community to over like 20,000 people. What was
right. I was about to ask, what did you do for them? But okay, cool. How did you do
Yeah,
that?
yeah, so it was through a lot of connections. It was a lot of networking,
Hmm.
personal connections of people that I've already met in the NFT space in my short time, and then also networking with content creators was the big thing. So back then, you were able to work with some content creators, and everybody wanted to know what the scoop was, so they'd watch these guys. We
Hmm.
worked with them, built over to 21,000 members, sold out the project in 15 minutes. And then they were like, "Hey, Nick, we surprised you. Here's some revenue from the project,
Oh
for
wow,
doing such a great job." And I was like, "Wow, like that is
that's a
more than
nice
my
dough.
salary." Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
"That's more than my salary. I gotta see what I can do in this space." So I was balancing a full-time job as like working for a marketing agency at the same time as doing this. So it was kind of
Hmm.
hectic. It was working 18-hour days.
Hmm.
Really because I saw something here, did it with another project, another payout, and then I've had enough, reserves that I can be like, okay, I can probably quit my job and take a risk on this.
Hmm.
So I did exactly that in January 2022. I quit my job. Um, Started to build up my own company, which was fun fact. It used to be called OG Studios before it was
Nice.
Bridge 3, it was OG Studios. At the time, it was like everybody had a studio
Yeah.
in all these companies, and I was like, oh, I gotta be a studio.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, a bad choice, but it's Bridge 3 now. And obviously, what it is now is a marketing agency, which we use a lot of content creators and a lot of projects that we have in our network. And
Right.
today, I think we have over 60 different partnerships, and then we've worked with over 260 projects in
How do
this
you
year.
how do you like create an agency like that? How do you create Bridge 3? Where do you start with that? What was like the difficulty for you in this project that you're operating right now?
Yeah, so I would say like the biggest thing is just like learning the ropes of being a marketing agency, like a business, like running all the back end stuff. Like when you're an entrepreneur and you're a startup, it, the hardest thing is learning all the other things that you aren't good at. So for me, I was good at talking to people and setting up and facilitating deals, but the harder part was just like managing the operation side of things and making sure that we have smooth processes and
Hmm.
organization when it actually comes to the company side of things. So you know for me it was a learning curve, right? You have to really throw yourself in there when you're being this young. If you're older and you have some experience and you've worked with a corporate company for 20 years, it's probably a
Hmm.
lot easier.
Hmm.
But
How old are you?
25, I just
Okay.
turned 25 in 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks,
Hmm.
no, almost a month ago now. But yeah, um
Time flies.
I know it really does.
Yeah.
But yeah, threw myself in there, and I'm come from a family of entrepreneurs, so I'm very much so like aware of the challenges because I have two older brothers that went through it with their own company. My
Hmm.
father's owns his own company, so always chatted about it, and quite aware of like how business operates, right, and what you got to do sometimes. So
Hmm. So like
yeah,
it's funny because you sort of mentioning operations because I thought you'd say or like for me for example it would be like actually aggregating all those influencers, right, and sort of making that deal with each one of them.
Mhm.
to basically represent them, because that's what how I'm assuming you're operating. You represent different influencers, and you sort of like aggregating them, and then you are negotiating with your clients, to promote your clients through those
Yeah.
influencers. But tell me if I'm wrong, or how does the model work?
Yeah, so because we're in a different industry, and I say that with a grain of salt because Web3 was, at least my experience in Web3 and everybody else around me, has been very organic and fluent.
Hmm.
So building up that network was more about building up relationships with people and having trust and loyalty between one another. Actually, we never actually exchanged transactionally
Hmm.
um, until 6 or 7 months in, when I started to have these opportunities for paid advertisements for these guys and whatnot. And it was
Hmm.
kind of a mutual agreement, like, hey, like, you allow me to use your likeness to market and basically put you out to people, and then I'll in return bring you opportunities. Um, and it was kind of very organic. We didn't really have a set like, hey, I'm going to pay you this, or we're going to have this set up. It was very organic. And, because I was able to do it that way,
Hmm.
have a real relationship with a lot of these content creators where I can, approach them with different things that I think would fit them. And they're more receptive to it because we have a relationship and it's not just transactional.
And content creators, is that your own like one vertical? And when I say content creators, or like when we say that, do you mean like just like video influencers, YouTube, TikTokers, and all that, or do you have like other like other platforms as your clients as well? Just wanted to see like what's in your
Yeah.
portfolio.
Yeah, so mainly the video content creators. We have on our website, we have two different sections. There's the
Hmm.
content creators, and then there's the projects that we actually work with. So the actual IP and brands in the Web3 space.
Yeah.
The content creators themselves are a mixture of YouTube and Twitter influencers,
Hmm.
where they're either have large followings and audiences and engagement through Twitter, or they have a YouTube channel where they're posting daily content about the industry, updating people, and thousands of people go to watch them.
Hmm.
Obviously, in the infancy stages of the market, and the current market and economy that we're in,
Right.
there's a lot less interest, but they're still like racking up a
Yeah.
solid amount of views and people loving to see it, right?
How do you see like right now, as you mentioned, the market right now is we're sort of like in the bear market in general, and with Web3 and crypto, we are also, we were trending down for some time now. How do you see the industry for content creators right now? Do you see like the average paycheck is also decreasing, or there's like are the deals changing now than when it was like during the hype?
Mm, a little bit, but not really. Um, in terms of what's coming in from out from the exterior, so like what companies are coming in and asking for advertising right now is
Mhm.
different, and there aren't as many, but the pay sizes and whatnot are still relatively the same, right? Because um, generally most of the creators have their mark of what they want to bring in, because they have their costs, right? For the videos, they have content, they have the video editors, they got,
Right.
sometimes some of them have cameramen to pay for, all sorts of different things that you can kind of mark under your
Hmm.
expenses as a content creator.
And what kind
But
of
yeah,
Yes, go
go
ahead.
on.
Yeah, what kind of advertisers are actually approaching you? Like, who are those businesses? Like, what are they? Where are they? I'm assuming like would be like some crypto exchanges, or, but is there anything else that like you'd find like interesting in terms of like the business verticals?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the typical ones that you would see. So we had earlier in the year FTX, obviously before everything went down, but FTX
Mhm.
was a large sponsorship for a lot of the content creators,
Oh yeah,
um, quite large. And then after that had been pulled, obviously due to the economic situation, we started seeing a lot more uh, I guess, startup projects and video games, a lot of video games. So
interesting.
obviously a huge part of having a game in general is having users. So a lot of these video games will come to us and say like, hey, we want to increase our user base in Web3. This is the idea, this is the plan, and we want to use these influencers to do it. So we started seeing some more video games, still exchanges, and all
Hmm.
sorts of different types of exchanges, like I guess like Binance and X2Y2, more NFT side of things,
Hmm.
but approach about deals, about how things worked, to inquire and see what they were like, right? So a little
Yeah.
bit of a mixture, but more so the startups looking to get their audience.
Right. With this market right now, and like just the industry of cryptocurrency, of Web3, of just blockchain projects, you've sort of committed your life right now to that industry, and you're seeing that industry right now is rapidly like going down. And again, we know that the market is cyclical. Everyone understands that there's a high possibility that we're gonna be back on track with the market and all of that. Um, but how do you feel about it? Like, what's your outlook on everything?
You know what? Because I'm not particularly a trader myself, like I won't go and trade day-to-day markets,
Right.
mainly because that's not my area of expertise and I don't want to put myself in too much of a risk position. I have people that update me on it, some very smart people in my family that, follow crypto very closely, that, keep me
Hmm.
up to date on certain news and things that are going on. But I have a general positive outlook. I'm obviously long on crypto. I've put everything I have into it. I've owned four different companies in crypto industry. So I'm obviously here for the long run. Um,
But
but I see it, yeah.
yeah.
I was just gonna say I see like a general like positive uptrend recently. Um, we kind of had that lull in the market, and the general economy is very down, but we've kind of been kind of horizontal for a little bit now. We had some good news in the US that came through. Um, Obviously they weren't raising as much as as
Hmm.
much as people were feared that they were going to, which caused a rally in the markets.
Hmm.
And there's a few things with like Ethereum announcing EIP 4337, I believe, to make usability a lot easier for the average person, and crypto wallet safety, which was
Hmm.
amazing.
Hmm.
Um, so we're seeing a little bit of a rally right now. I don't necessarily think we're back on track yet, but I do think by the end of 2023 we'll be hitting that uptrend, and
Yeah.
pretty excited because that's the capitalization period is now. Like you want to be able to capitalize on low markets.
Absolutely. And obviously, this is not a financial advice, and we're
No,
not recommending anyone to kind of like trade of anything that we're saying here. Question for you though, Nick, as a marketeer, what do you think about marketing cryptocurrency, marketing Web3 projects? Do you agree with like certain tactics? And I'm not talking about like I would say social marketing or anything like that. I'm talking about like legit, like I don't know, how do you say? Like I think
yeah,
it's very
paid media
complicated.
and stuff. The
No, no, no.
traditional approach, right?
Right, but like, how do you explain Web3, crypto, and blockchain to the masses? And I feel like everyone's focusing on all the tech stack, and I was always just show them where to press the button to get some of like output, you know? And that's it's not being done. We're all talking about layers and Ethereums and staking and rewards and all of that, but like, okay, but for my mom, like, how do I explain to her like why crypto is good? Like, why should she use this app, for example, or anything like that? How do you feel about it?
It's definitely, I mean, that's the question everyone's asking, right? How do we get the masses involved in a Web3 industry? And there's a lot of different ways that people are doing it. Obviously, the larger exchanges and companies taking the lead on, doing like Super Bowl advertisements, right? Getting it in front of people first, having them ask questions. But I think that we're not there yet. We really need to make this industry on a tech side of things accessible to anybody. So it needs to be as easy as you going onto your Google Chrome, opening a new tab and typing in Facebook,
Yeah.
right? Like that's how easy it needs to be for you to find somewhere to buy crypto or,
Hmm.
to hold your crypto. You need to be
Hmm.
able to look at your portfolio the same as you would go to a bank, right? Logging in everything should be seamless. You shouldn't need to understand the tech or the blockchain to be able to use the technology to your advantage, right? So I don't think we're quite there yet. I think awareness is great, and that people obviously know what crypto is. Nobody really knows what the blockchain is, but they don't need to know that, right?
Hmm.
They don't need to understand the underlying tech. What we need to be putting it crypto and Web3 in front of millions and millions of people, and understanding that this is a system where you hold the keys. I guess like it's kind of ironic that you hold the keys to your future and your money, but
Yeah.
like you literally hold the keys to your money, and
Hmm.
nobody can tell you what to do or nobody can take it away from you because like
Yeah.
you are literally holding your
There you
keys
go.
to your money. You know what I
Nick is
mean?
showing his ledger, I think.
Yeah. right? You are actually holding it, so nobody can take it away from you. I think that's very important part of the crypto ecos or ethos, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of, NFTs, and speaking of Toronto, you actually are organizing something very huge here, and I just wanted to ask you to talk a little bit about it as well.
For sure, yeah. NFT Toronto, man, it's been about 7 months of planning so far, and we're really excited about
And
it.
what's an NFT Toronto?
NFT Toronto is essentially a Web3 NFT conference, um, but we're doing a little bit differently. We really want to model after the South by Southwest, where it's both a hybrid festival and conference, so people can come have fun, enjoy themselves, which is very much so the aspect of Web3. A lot of people really, connect with that, and also still educate. So like including the Web3 curious people who want to come in and learn about NFTs, the conference side is for that, right? So putting in front of these people like the best people in the NFT projects space in terms of founders, the best people in terms of security, exchanges, where to buy NFTs, how to be safe doing it, putting all of this in a room to educate people, but then also going down the street, at night to celebrate with all these new people that you just met and have a good
Party.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So
So this sounds really ambitious, and especially in this market, aren't you a little afraid that, just like with this lower interest in crypto right now and NFTs as well, just because they've been devalued right now due to the market conditions, I would say like enthusiasm is not as high as it used to be, and yet you're here trying to organize this, and you are organizing this huge conference, in Toronto, trying to make some noise here. That's kind of courageous. Like, what keeps you
mhm.
going? And like, aren't you afraid?
I mean, you can be afraid of a lot of things, but I think that, my perseverance and ambition to do something great in this space has kept me moving forward. But what I would say is that back in June, we had 16,000 people attend NFT NYC. If you recall, June was probably one of the worst parts of the bear market. That's when crypto, we were getting knocked down from 3,000, 2,500 down to the 1,500
Hmm.
area. And
Hmm.
people were down bad at that point, right? So obviously, that was a very, very tough time. Still had 16,000 people show up in New York to
Hmm.
attend an NFT conference. Now, I don't plan on having this conference as big as that this year because it's our first year. I want to make sure that we can show everybody that we're going to do it the right way and they're going to enjoy our conference more than any other conference out there.
How many people will come to your conference, do you think?
Between 3,000 and 4,000 people.
Wow, that's huge. That's a large number, especially
Yeah.
for a conference here in Toronto, because we have some conferences here as well, and they've been well established, and they have around the same attendance, I would say, maybe more, maybe less. But what I'm saying is that you're so ambitious about it, and you're so confident, and that's why I'm like, wow, like I really want to see how this goes, and I really want you to succeed in that. What is the like difficulty right now? Like the main difficulty about organizing this?
Yeah, I would say the main difficulty is honestly, it's just like a lot of the market in North America is in the US. Canada is a huge market for NFTs, but a lot of the audience that I market to is in the US or overseas, right? So the hardest part is kind of the things that I can't control, like people having passports or people not
Mm.
being able to come to Canada or vaccine requirements, the stuff that I can't control. But I'm not really concerned about that. Like our reach in terms of our content creators and projects is well over 1 million people, right? I like to think of it as I have access to the entire space if I need it, right?
Mm.
Through my direct network or my external network, I have access to almost everybody that purchases NFTs
Mm.
through our vast network of people, right? So I'm not really concerned because 3 to 4,000 people in my eyes is one project, a community full of holders, right? And we have some of the biggest projects wanting to come out and throw events at our and in Toronto.
That's very, very interesting. And I'm just thinking like um just like in general, organizing a conference is something that, has a purpose of networking. You come to the conference to network with other people, but also you want to learn something new. what would be the main purpose of your conference? You want it to be accessible to a lot of people. For example, you will probably have a lot of speakers there. Those speakers, like, what do you feel like they're going to be like the message for them? Are they going to bring us something new? Are they going to announce something for us, or are they just going to tell us like, oh, it's okay, we'll be back? They're just going to like promise us a lot of things in the future, like don't freak out, we're still here. What kind of I would say identity will your conference have?
I really want to follow in the footsteps of E3. E3 is one of the biggest gaming conferences in the world, and every single year they have the biggest companies and the biggest games announce, their next title or their next announcement at that conference. I want NFT Toronto to resemble that experience for Web3 NFTs. So the largest projects in the space, the biggest companies in the space, they use this time and this stage to announce their biggest endeavors for the next year. I
Mhm.
want that to be NFT Toronto. I want people to come and be able to network with everybody and meet somebody new so that a new business venture starts at NFT Toronto. That's the identity that I want for our conference.
That's great. And for NFTs themselves, do you see it mainly right now as an art thing? Like at the conference will be the art thing. Do you see it as like the main purpose for NFTs? Because a lot of people are also saying like NFTs, like art is just the beginning. Art is, is just something like as a you get your foot through the door in the door to the world of NFTs. But are you hearing any other concepts where NFTs are being useful right now?
Yeah, like so many. And that's the one point that whenever I try and talk to somebody new about NFTs, the one thing that I always bring up is NFTs are more than the artwork that's attached to the token on the blockchain. Okay. NFT, like non-fungible token, has a protocol, ERC 721, right? On at least on the Ethereum blockchain. Um, and that means digital ownership, right? So there's so much more use case for digital ownership than just attaching a specific image to that token. That token represents something, right? The image is made for a reference point to make it easy, kind of like what I said earlier about making things easy. So that image, the reason that people talk about that image or pictures or art so much is because that's what they can see and that's what they can use with their phones and their computers. They can use it as personal identity online. And that's why it's so easy to call all NFTs art or
Hmm.
profile pictures. But realistically, the use cases are, there's so many of them. And the soulbound token that Vitalik did a huge paper on, that can be such a key part of the future in terms of, think about your education, your degree from a university. You can have an airdrop soulbound token that is from a verified contract from that
Hmm.
university to say this person had attended this university and got this degree. This is a soulbound token. You can never move it.
So in a way, it's kind of like a proof of work, right? I heard about that, meaning like you can bullshit your way through a lot of things these days, right? And no one can double check you, no one can actually go back, and check out, did he really work on that project? Did he really go to that school? Well, that part you can check. But like in terms of the projects, in terms of what did you do, what are your achievements? But now with NFTs, I'm assuming you can just put all of your kind of achievements on a blockchain on the chain, and you can certify yourself as in like, yes, I have done this is the project that I've worked on, this is the code I've created, or let's say this is the coffee shop that I worked at, and this is the amount of I don't know,
Yep.
something coffees I've done, and all of that, and it's all on the blockchain, and you can put it on, let's say, like, your LinkedIn, and now like, I put my money where my mouth is.
Yep.
I did that, and here's the proof, and it's verifiable. So when a competitor tries to tell something, right, to claim something, and they will do the same thing, but without the blockchain technology, without the NFT, then all of a sudden you start questioning them because they're not backing it
Yep.
up.
It's very much so like, regular business nowadays where you have certifications to say like, hey, you're certified by this company who is allowed to give out this certification. So
Hmm.
now we know that you're legitimately good at what you say you're good at because you have that certification. The same thing goes for the blockchain,
Hmm.
right? Everything is there. The other really cool part is POAPs. So obviously POAP means proof of attendance protocol. That's another part of NFTs where if you attend something, let's just say you attended a conference or you attended a seminar, and
Hmm.
your certificate is that you've attended the seminar and now you are a certified professional in speeches,
Hmm.
right? You can receive a proof of attendance protocol, a POAP for short, to say that you were there. And that is your basically your participation medal. right? So now you've received an NFT and you know it's like I was here at this event because I have this POAP and that
It's
this
al-
is the
it's
official one that they gave out.
almost gamified, right? Like you kind of want
Yeah.
to have that achievement, like you're playing a video
Start
game and like,
collecting.
yeah, like PlayStation, for example, gives you achievements for like whatever, getting to that level of the video game or something like that. And all of
Yep.
a sudden, it's just it kind of I don't know, it just creates a cloud for you. You know, he has this and that and this, and
Yep.
consequently, I guess it creates um a reputation. I would say a better word for that would be a reputation in the professional world, and also I guess certificates are more like broad, but like when you have some very narrow skills or narrow events that you attended or something like that, this is where this is like, okay, I want to see all of his NFTs. Based on those NFTs, I will assess this person's skills. I will assess this person's personality or something like that. You know, like what are their interests, and I don't know. I think this is very it has a potential to be groundbreaking, and
Hmm.
all because NFTs are right now are our PFPs for now.
For now, a lot of the technology does revolve around people, having startups and giving identity to their communities and maybe even video game digital ownership. A lot of it revolves around that. But I think the future is bright as long as we stay on the path and continue to build and obviously continue to work on the security aspects so not as many people are running into issues and there's no bad rep in the space for that.
Absolutely. Nick, thanks so much for being on this podcast. How can people reach out to you? How can they find your company?
Yeah, so I guess there's a few different ways. The first of which is my email. It's Nick at Bridge3. That's BRIDG3.io. There's no E in Bridge. The other way is obviously through my Twitter, my social medias. Twitter is Nikki GEE 44. But yeah, you can find me anywhere online. I mean, I'm here. Everything's on the blockchain. You can find me wherever you want, right? So
Fantastic. I'll add your links to the description of this episode as well. And when is the conference, Nick?
it's June 22nd and the 25th, 2023. It's in Toronto at the Metro Toronto Convention Center, and I look forward to seeing you there too.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to attend that conference. Nick, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Samir.